Hello everyone, so it's raining and I'm in the woods and I have a message that I would like to share on what is ours, what is theirs, emotional burdens and knowing how to protect our energy. So many of us might find that we overgive, we take on too much, be it practically, take on too much responsibility, and maybe we shoulder the emotions of others that really, and it's not our job to do that. And this can be triggered a lot in any relationship, but in particular intimate relationships. So if you notice this is happening to you, this will probably go back to childhood, where for some reason you had to undergo and shoulder some burden, maltreatment, or some form of burden that wasn't yours in order to essentially survive. And when I say survive, I mean to get the love you needed, to get the approval, to get the safety. So often this can come from caregivers. Our parents, maybe they treated us in a way that wasn't the most loving at times. And we learn as a child, if the belief system we can often form is, I have to put up with this treatment to get the love I deserve. And it's a very childlike way of rationalizing things, but this is how the emotional brain works. This is how our belief systems start to form. So the belief systems that form, at whatever age they form, they stay frozen, and they're frozen in our inner child. So our inner child will hold those emotions at however young that age was. And so, when we have a reaction, we might feel a burst of rage, or we're having a temper tantrum like a child. These kind of emotions, they're all coming from the inner child that was never heard or seen or validated when we were younger. So the job for us in the present, if we want to start to unpick this, is we can do both some inner work and outer work to really help us resolve some of these burdens, whether it's anger, frustration, hurt, resentment coming out in our relationships. So firstly, there's the practical boundaries. We can start to protect ourselves more. We can start to go, no, actually, I don't have to put up with this anymore to be loved. We can start to create a new worldview. And if certain situations are arising, or we have certain relationships where we're taking on the role of taking on too much, we can start to step back from that and say, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry, this is your stuff. This is my stuff, and I'm gonna take responsibility for mine. You take responsibility for what's yours. And this can be very tricky, especially if it's with family members or any historic relationships where we've been taking on that role and then we're shifting and becoming something different. That can be navigated with a therapist or individuals around you who will support you if you're in a time like that. As well as this, there are internal things that we can do to start to shift the belief systems. And sometimes when we shift the internal, then the external can shift, and it can be very powerful. So with a therapist, with an EFT practitioner like myself, or even in your own journaling, if you feel comfortable, you can go back to your child, your inner child, and the time where they formed this worldview about taking on too much. And often your inner child, it'll be carrying this resentment, and there'll be a lack of forgiveness because they had to take on too much. There's going to be hurt in there. So we can allow them to be heard, allow them to be held, and process and start to release these emotions. And then their emotions are theirs, but what wasn't ever their responsibility was to take on what they didn't need to take on, be it the brunt of someone's anger. And we can imagine giving all of that back to whoever it was, a caregiver, someone in our life. Thank you. I've learned my lesson. I'm going to protect myself now. I give it back to you with love and with forgiveness. If we can access that, it's a process and it takes time. But ultimately, we can get to the place where we can imagine giving it back with love and forgiveness, and we take care of what is now ours to take care of. So this is my message for today. It's something that actually I'm working on personally within myself, and I always like to share what is relevant and what is processing for me. So if this helps you, then that is wonderful. Have a lovely